hello, and welcome to Rainbows Rising, where we ascend together. I'm Rainbow Raja, shaman and transformational coach. I'm here to help you overcome your challenges and adversity through these consciousness practices, perception shifts, and self-care skills, and to provide a space that promotes inclusivity of all belief systems and backgrounds. Each and every month, we cover a topic or modality to offer new insights, tips, and healing skills that will inspire you on your journey to becoming the best version of yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited. I have been waiting through all of these seasons to finally teach Reiki. Reiki is one of the more commonly accepted healing modalities out there. It is being accepted by spas and holistic practitioners, and even now Western medicine, where UCLA has a Reiki center at their facility. So, a wonderful thing about Reiki is, despite the fact that it's considered an energy modality, it is producing results when worked with clients. And I have provided a link in the description for you to take a look at by the medical research scripts, so you can see that Reiki is more effective than the placebo effect. And the placebo effect is about 50% effective to begin with, which is more effective than even pharmaceutical medicine. So it is, in essence, a very effective treatment, which is why it's being explored more in the medical community. Reiki is not so commonly known to be great for self-healing. It was first and foremost developed as a self-healing practice, much like yoga or much like meditation. It is something that you utilize for yourself as a skill to bring about wellness. Now, we will be covering traditional Usui Reiki, Ryoho Level 1. Now, Shoden is the first level to the system of Reiki. It is the beginner's level, and it helps you better understand what Reiki is and how you can practice this skill on oneself for healing and for improving your quality of life. It teaches you the basics and how to use it in order to amplify it into other areas of your life. And this will be the beginning of your self-healing journey. What is Reiki? So Reiki is a Japanese energy modality method, much like Zen. And it is revered as a state of being. And it was first discovered and utilized by a man named Mikao Usui in 1922. Rei, in Japanese, means spirit, or divine, or universal mystery. And ki is life force energy, like qi in traditional Chinese medicine. The word Reiki, when the kanji, which is the intricate, picturesque letters that illustrate the meanings of both Japanese and Chinese words, are put together, Reiki means universal life force energy, or living in your divinity, living an expression of spirit or divine life. It is this concept that you are connecting with life energy, the energy of wellness, the energy of life itself. So, kanji, as I said, are intricate letterings that are usually symbolic, and they have each stroke of the pen is a different meaning. So if you were to look at the kanji of Reiki, it shows like heaven at the very top and clouds and rain, and community, people being connected, and heaven being connected to earth and people celebrating it, and steam being produced by the rays of the sun, and a grain of rice expanding in a cooking pot. So in Japan, rice is the essence of life. It is like the smallest molecule of nourishment, of nutrient, and it gives life to those who consume it, right? And being able to transform that rice is a powerful statement. So the kanji, the word itself, is really helping you understand that you are that grain of rice. You are transforming yourself. You are connecting heaven and earth. And that, that through this, you're creating this community and you are connecting that all together. So that is where this universal life force energy comes from. And that was what the original kanji meaning when Mikao Usui first discovered it, first named it, that was his meaning for the kanji. So Reiki, at its very core, is simple. It is returning the body, the mind, the emotions. It is returning the object to its natural state of being. So for our bodies, it's the homeostasis state. For maybe something like your food, it would be returning it to its state without being manipulated or, changed by other people or other methods of transformation. So when a practitioner becomes a channel for Reiki energy, the energetic frequency of that is life. It is the natural flow of life. It is the energy of nature. And that object, whether it is in alignment with that or not, will start to match that frequency of Reiki, which is just life energy. It begins to sync with that. So Reiki acts as a tuning fork to gently guide the mind and body back into this homeostasis state. And the body is only able to do healing. The body is only able to rest when it is in a state of homeostasis. And this state is usually perceived as a feeling of calm, of well-being, of deep rest and peace. And when you are experiencing Reiki, a lot of people dictate that they are feeling light, tingling sensations, or they might feel like there's this warm ray of the sun on them. A lot of people just fall straight to sleep. And it is in this state that the body is able to facilitate healing for itself. Now, those of you out there that are in the holistic field, I'm sure at some point in your life you were exposed to the Hippocratic Oath. Now, for those of you who were not, the Hippocratic Oath is that you do not do harm to others. The other part of the Hippocratic Oath is that the body heals itself. All doctors take this oath. All psychiatrists take this oath. There is a fundamental understanding that the body has the capability to mend itself. And that doctors, psychiatrists, when they work with you, they are not doing the healing. That they are guiding the healing. That they are just enlightening you to the healing. That the body itself is healing itself. And so we are doing that with Reiki by giving the body the space to heal itself. We are giving the body and the mind the boost that it needs to feel safe enough, to feel energized enough to heal itself. Reiki was first discovered by a man named Usui. The reason I switched his name around is in Japan, last names are addressed first as a sign of respect for the family that you are born into. And so Usui was born August 15th in 1865 in the village of Taniyamura, now known as Miyamacho. And at this time in history, Kyoto was a capital of Japan. And Usui was raised in the Yamagata district of the Gifu prefecture in Kyoto. Now, Japan had just begun opening its borders to the rest of the world. And this was such an exciting time to see what the Western world had discovered and developed technologically and militarily. But this did bring about a lot of changes, because while Japan was in this self-imposed exile, they had developed culturally. They were very prosperous. And now, opening up their borders to the Western world, it opened doors for Christianity and Catholicism to come into the country. And there was a lot of trading that was happening. And there was a lot of jobs that were being made, but also expiring. So Usui is believed to have come from a samurai family who were Hatamoto, a high level within the ranks of samurai. I mean, they were the shogun's personal guard during the Tokugawa shogunate from the 1600s to 1867. And because of this new world entering Japan at this time, the samurai's class were no longer required to protect the shogun. And because of that, they were now being offered new positions as public servants. And their training was not as, as rigorous. Now, it is believed that Usui was born a Buddhist and studied in a Tendai monastery as a child. And at the age of 12, he began the practice of a martial arts form called Aikijitsu. Later, he studied Yagyu Ryu and became a master instructor in both. Now, Usui quickly gained Menkyo Keien, which is the highest license of proficiency in weaponry and grappling, and continued to explore a bunch of other Japanese martial arts methods. His mastery of these martial arts gave him very early acclaim. He was well received by so many martial arts masters that he became known as Usui Sensei, a highly respected term for a teacher, or one who is due special respect because of the spiritual importance of his teachings. In 1907, he and his wife, Sadako, welcomed their first son, Fuji, into the world. And several years later, it is believed that he had a daughter as well. However, there are no known records of her birth. And Usui was excited about learning and expanding his knowledge. Even with difficulties learning as a child, he studied very, very hard and became far superior in ability to his friends and even colleagues. He traveled to Europe and America and China to study, and he became a man of versatile talents and a book lover, knowing a wide variety of knowledge from history and biology and religious studies, medical sciences, and even psychology, which was a new field at the time completely. And it is said that he even worked in many fields before becoming a Tendai Buddhist Zaike, or priest monk residing at home. And as a Tendai monk, he was bound to his home and would do these studies at home. But the monks are required to do pilgrimages where they are testing their faith and testing their wisdom and knowledge, and are forced to fast and clear their mind on these journeys to raise their spiritual energy, or their ki, right? And one day, Usui sensei climbed Mount Kurama, where he began to do penance while fasting. He just was reflecting on his life and reflecting on the lessons he was learning and the skills that he had been taught, and most likely reflecting on all of the traveling he had been doing. Now, this mountain was known to be a very special spiritual mountain, and it was known to be the home of a temple called the Kurama Temple. Now, founded in 770, the Kurama Temple was a guardian of this mountain, and it is located halfway up the northern quarter of this mountain in the capital city of Heianko. Upon his 21st day from the start of his pilgrimage, he sat atop the mountain in meditation and suddenly felt a burst of life energy rush over his head. He did not know what this was, but at this moment he experienced a profound spiritual awakening, and he realized that there was this energy that he was receiving, and he acquired the ability and understanding of this energy and named it Reiki. And he sat atop this hill with this energy and allowed himself to absorb it and to observe it and to just recognize it. Coming down the mountain, he tripped and injured himself. And he tried the healing technique that he had learned at the top of the mountain, this energy, on himself, in hopes that he would feel better in order to continue down the mountain. And upon using it on himself, he experienced an immediate result. He went down the hill, and he even tried it on members of his family and friends, and they all said the same thing. They experienced an immediate result. Usui Sensei would visit the Tendai Temple just to sit and observe this new energy that he called Reiki. The more he used it, the more enlightened and at peace he became in himself, in his life. He began teaching Reiki, not just because he wanted to teach, but because at the Tendai Temple, where he would sit and just sit with this energy, Reiki, people could feel this peaceful aura, this peaceful sensation that only came when he was at the temple. People would meditate and pray beside him in the temple. They could feel the difference entering the space, becoming enveloped with this profound calm, profound healing that would drop them into a deep state of relaxation. But he only began teaching it after he had been using it on himself and emanating it into the temple around him. At a certain point, he had been using this energy so much, and people had really appreciated his presence so much that he decided to share this new sensation with the rest of the world. And Usui Sensei moved to Aoyama, Harajuku, Tokyo in April 1922. There he established an institute where he later instructed openly to the public and shared as treatments and healing centers. So he decided, I'm going to share whatever this is, in this healing center. And his treatments were immediately well received. And soon after opening, people came from far and wide just to ask for guidance and healing. They wanted to experience this, quote, cure that they kept hearing about. And he commonly had a long line that expanded outside the building and down the block. Once he began openly teaching students, he developed teaching techniques. He didn't develop them first. He would have students come to him, and they were not allowed to take notes. He would lecture, and he had his own materials that he allowed them to review. Students would write questions into notes, and Usui Sensei would answer them. The use of Reiki symbols did not come about until much later in the development of this system of energy healing. And the emphasis on these teachings were in experiencing and sharing and sustaining this state, this energy of Reiki. And his students noted that his natural character was gentle and prudent and always adorned with a smile. Even when facing difficulties, he always barreled ahead with focus. Reiki wasn't the only hands-on healing technique at this time, though. There were like 5 other well-known healing modalities circulating in Japan at this time. But this is the only one that withstood the test of time. There was an earthquake that happened September 1st, 1923. It measured 8.3, and it hit just before noon. This was not the biggest earthquake to ever hit Japan. However, with its close proximity to Tokyo and Yokohama, as well as its very, very large fire that was caused by the quake itself, it became one of the most destructive and devastating earthquakes in Japan's history. There is an estimation of over 100,000 deaths and still over 40,000 people missing. Many were left homeless during this time, and Usui Sensei felt such sincere love and compassion for the injured and sick suffering due to the earthquake and fire. He and his students went around inside the city each and every day using Reiki on every individual that they could find. He had assisted and saved countless lives during this time of need due to his devotion to Reiki. After this event, his reputation grew so much more, as he often received offers of engagements from everywhere throughout the world. It was at an inn in Fukuyama that he caught a disease abruptly and passed away at the age of 62 in the middle of a night due to a stroke. Now, in the early 1900s, the average age of living all around the world was the early to mid 40s. He lived to be 62. That was very old for that era. Now, you may be wondering, well, that all happened in Japan, so how did it get over here to the West? That's a great question. There is a huge difference between Western and traditional Japanese Reiki. And I really am excited to share this with you because through the expansion and popularization of Reiki in the Western world, there have been some important cultural differences that have evolved over time. They're probably not going to affect your work, especially since you're going to just be working on yourself, but it's important to still understand and respect the origins of the practice, in my opinion. And so I'm going to go ahead and do you a favor and help you understand both sides. And that way you can choose whichever views or practices feel most natural and empowering for you. So, how is traditional Reiki and Western Reiki different? After the passing of Usui Mikao Sensei, a woman named Hawayo Takada visited Japan while under the affliction of a deep illness. She was recommended surgery. Miss Takada wanted to explore alternative healing before resorting to surgery. And she met one of Usui Sensei's students, Chujiro Hayashi, and Miss Takada visited him daily for several weeks. And having initially finding Reiki to be calming and pleasant, she continued with those treatments. And after a few weeks of treatment, Miss Takada found herself to be cured, in her own words, cured, and dedicated herself to learning the technique herself. Now, let me just say that in Japan, most teachings in Japan are meant to stay preserved and honored in that country as a trade secret. Okay. Miss Takada is a Japanese American. And having been Japanese and American, she very much was assumed to be a resident of Japan and was given the chance to take Reiki in order to learn this modality. So she took 2 courses of Reiki, learning these techniques, and then she returned to Hawaii in the United States and was so moved by her own healing journey, she wanted to share this new practice with the world. Students of Reiki are not allowed to share their teachings outside of Japan. So Miss Takada had broken this unspoken rule, and it's probably due to Miss Takada's excitement over her own healing that she disregarded all the hush warnings that are whispered from the students and the teachers. But in order to make this practice accepted in the West, she knew she had to make some adjustments to the teachings and culture, because the Japanese culture and the American culture are so very different. So here are some ways that she had to make some adjustments. She referred to Usui Mikao as a doctor to give him a higher status, because in the United States, you're not taken seriously without a degree. You're not taken seriously unless you have some kind of credential. And Usui Sensei was a respected and trusted teacher in Japan and a man of wisdom. However, he never acquired a medical degree. Number 2, Miss Takada also focused on creating a structured teaching system with hand positions, as Western minds are more likely to accept the use of energy if it is structured and taught in a way that gave step-by-step instructions. So, Mikao Usui had taught Reiki organically. Through his living example, he would teach others. He would speak at length and lecture about the sensations of Reiki and whatever came through him in that moment, intuitively. He would be the energy, and others would feel and live that way as well. And it was through his expression and his example that others became attuned. Miss Takada needed this to be more westernized in order for it to be taken more seriously. So she started the Reiki courses with this attunement, where she would place her hands over the body and attune an individual to this energy, and then teach them these skills in an organized manner that could be replicated. Number 3, Miss Takata allowed for the infusion of Christian elements into her teachings because she knew that that is the way that Westerners think. Now, this is a very subconscious Western belief that even I didn't think I had until I really started to investigate the origins of Reiki and how the Western perception has shifted the core practice. This really does shift a large aspect of Reiki, because Reiki is about honoring and discovering your own inner power, connection, and divine essence. But when we invite in Christian elements into the teaching of Reiki, students begin to believe in this sense of separation from life force, and they saw this life force as a separate entity of themselves. They saw it always coming in from without. Western Reiki users usually see themselves as receiving this golden power from the top of their heads, or from the universe, or their higher self, or God. And in Japan, this is seen as disempowering the practitioner from their own connection to the universal source within themselves. So sometimes Christian believers, whether Catholic or Christian or any of those ideologies, subconsciously associate original sin, the concept of heaven, hell, good, bad, or karma even, to the practice of Reiki, and will allow those beliefs to interfere with the healing aspect, which leaves the practitioner wrought with worry or anger or fear during and after healing sessions with others. And this does, once again, stray away from the traditional teachings of Usui, which is Reiki is not good or bad. It is just life. It is neutral. It is the frequency of homeostasis. It is the frequency of wellness, and it does not do harm. It is this neutral, pure force. The fourth one is, in her new approach to Reiki, Miss Takata took a logical approach to teaching energy work. Because in the Western world, logic or scientific thinking is extremely important. She used spoken and written words as much as possible to explain this process, sensations, and even the results. And in Japan, logic is not as heavily relied upon. First-hand experience and intuition is always more essential than logic. And in the Japanese culture, words are often used to soften communication. So many times they try to read deeper behind the words and what is said. For example, waka, a Japanese style of poetry, uses words as a surface or skin to mask the deeper essence of what is truly being written. You must use your intuition to find the true meaning of waka poems. And another difference when crossing Reiki over from Japan into the Western world was deciding who you share this information with. Now, traditional Japanese people, doesn't even matter who they are. They believe that the truth can only be understood and utilized by somebody who is ready to understand. And because of that, they want to keep information safe. Because if it's exposed to the public too soon, people will not understand. And they may project bad energy onto it, or onto others, or even onto your own endeavors. Whereas many Western students become excited and proud of their newfound information and truth. And they get excited and they want to share. That is what we are taught. We are taught to share. And this adversely caused students to prematurely share their studies before fully absorbing, practicing, and mastering the material taught to them. And I believe Miss Takata may have not emphasized this in her own teachings, having been a Westerner herself. Misinformation can spread like wildfire, and this has done irreparable damage to the reputation of Reiki in the West, in my opinion, as there are now many different practices of Reiki that are shared by teachers who never learned the core material, which therein has become lost through their own misunderstandings. So finding true traditional Reiki practices has become more and more difficult. The sixth way that Takata changed her teachings was Western countries tend to praise and worship idols as a way of connecting to source or connecting to power. And that is a subconscious way to feel comforted so they don't feel alone or powerless, and that's how they seek help and how they feel powerful is they seek outside validation. And idols are accepted in Japan, but not for the same purpose. In Japan, they don't use idols at all in Reiki. In Shinto does not use idols at all. It focuses on having a divine connection to source. So in Shinto, godlike, high-level energy can be channeled through any living creature or physical object once they're spiritually clean. So as long as you are maintaining a clear vessel, a clear physical body, you can become this high-level energy, that you are source. And these objects are called yorishiro, a spiritual receiver. And they could be stones or rivers, waterfalls, mountains, paper, mirrors, humans, animals, trees, etc. A lot of times rivers, stones, waterfalls, all those natural things are already very energetically clear and receive that source energy. And I believe I told you guys the story of where I came up with my name, Raja. But it's actually a Japanese word. Raja was from an anime I'd seen a really long time ago called Arjuna. And Raja were these quote, quote, bad spirits. And Arjuna was an avatar who had to fight these Raja. So she would be delivered to a natural place like a forest or a lake. And she would see this big spirit monster. And she would be asked to fight it. But they didn't use the word fight. They were like, you must overcome it. And she always assumed they meant fight. And so she would fight against this Raja. But you learn, not to ruin this whole thing for you guys. Spoiler alert, skip ahead by like a minute if you don't want to know. But Raja ended up being a term for both negative and positive. And it turns out that these natural areas she had been going to, being dropped off by the people, were like lakes that had been polluted by humans, or trees that had been chopped down for lumber companies. And so they were natural, pure states of being. They were yorishiro, spiritual receivers, that had been tarnished by mankind, that had been tarnished by this other spirit, this negative energy. And so she was meant to clean that spirit. And the story is only coming up because this whole concept reminded me of this element of Raja, which is this neutral energy this neutral. It's this this energy of being able to take something that is impure, that has been, tarnished, and turning it back into this pure state. And this energy system, Reiki, it's known to do that. And so this is an energy-based channeling system that the Japanese teach. And this is not just in Reiki. This is like a core Japanese belief about how nature works and how life works in general. It's that, like, you can return things back to their natural form as long as you are connecting to that divine source. And it is understood in this intuitive way that we are all connected to source, that we don't have to reach outside ourselves to return to that state. And it's funny because, Mikao Usui was Buddhist, right? So you'd think, oh, but he was Buddhist. Don't the Buddhists have a bunch of idols? But, yes, Buddhism has a lot of different godlike idols, but they use their idols in a really different way. They use it for, like, Buddhist art or for ceremonies, and not really as a way of worship or prayer or, in order to tune into that energy specifically. Truth be told, Reiki can be utilized, this is more of a metaphysical approach. This is what I've learned. Truth be told, Reiki can be utilized with idols without any difference or consequence. But it's really important that you develop your relationship to this energy before you start incorporating any other tools. That way you can really learn the differences. And as long as you are working with an idol or a deity that, through love and compassion, and you aren't connecting to it through fear or insecurities or, a dependency of some sort, that is when, it really does help the most. So the very last cultural difference, and this is a major cultural difference between traditional Reiki and Western Reiki, is the use of tools, which is kind of what we were talking about just then, about using an item, an idol as a tool. When it comes to improving oneself, or even a skill, Westerners always rely on tools to improve their performance, to show off how skilled they are. Sometimes they even use tools as a way to distract from their own incompetence at that skill. Whereas in Japan, you first develop yourself. You develop the fundamentals of the task to perfection. You practice that boring ritual over and over and over again until it is polished. And in Reiki, this can be seen with Westerners using the Reiki symbols as this essential role to practicing Reiki, versus in traditional Japanese Reiki, the students focus on developing their lower hara and using Reiki every day, and really focusing on the Gokai, which are the Reiki principles, and making sure that they are living according to those principles. Now, we're going to dive into what haras and symbols and Gokai are later, next week. But for now, you should know what the differences are so that you can determine which path you most resonate with, so that you can take those studies with you. Okay? So in a nutshell, we've got Western versus traditional. Westerners are they're seeking power from outside themselves. They have a lot of like these Christian beliefs, so like original sin and this like duality of like, oh yeah, there's heaven and earth, and we need to be able to communicate in words to people, in order for things to be taken more seriously. We're very logical. We like to look at the future or the past instead of focusing on the present, and we rely on tools. Whereas in Japan, they rely on their power coming from their inside. They recognize that even a divided spirit can find unity back to its wholeness. That they believe that there is nothing bound to heaven and hell, that we can restart, we can reset, that we are not bound by our mistakes. They trust their intuition and their feelings over the the words that are being spoken. They tune into the emotions behind the words. And they don't share, information with anybody unless they are ready to learn. So once again, if you're not ready to learn Reiki, just skip along, come back next month when we're not learning Reiki. The Japanese really rely on their intuition. They focus on the here and now in the present day, and they don't require any items of worship or tools in order to be skillful at something. They develop their fundamentals first. So when deciding where you want to go with your Reiki path, the best way to decide what you want to do is you can take little pieces of both. You can take little pieces of Western Reiki and, Japanese Reiki. It really doesn't matter. Western students sometimes really need visualizations and techniques such as Reiki showers or affirmations in order to find that connection to Reiki. And that comes from the whole subconscious, the subconscious programming that we have as young people. And it's okay. It's okay. We sometimes need to be able to visualize turning on that connection. And in Japanese Reiki, it's a lot more natural, a lot more organic. It really is trusting and not being so logical. It's just giving into this energy and allowing it to flow, to become one with this energy. And the Japanese believe that everyone is born with Reiki and has the ability to use it. That Reiki flows when our mind is calm and when we are in harmony with our most natural state. And I think the best way to kind of give you an understanding of the difference is a Western Reiki master would say, "May the force be with you," while a Japanese Reiki master would say, "Remember, the force is you." Okay? So, we're not going to be looking at symbols at all this month because that's all Reiki too. But I encourage you through the month that we're doing these skills, that you have compassion for yourself, that you understand that you're not perfect, and that developing any skill is going to take time. You might have some self-confidence barriers, or maybe even the concept of energy is hard to wrap your head around. Try different approaches. Try different things. And if you are really struggling with getting the skills or getting the tools and you're having trouble with the practices, please reach out to me. If you really want to learn Reiki, please reach out to me. I will teach you Reiki 1 one-on-one for free this month. Okay? So if you're struggling with these skills during this month's podcast, reach out to me. Even in the future, just mention, this podcast, that you got this message from the podcast. And I will sit down, we'll go through how you can use these skills. And I will sit with you. Okay? But let's get started on those foundational practices. These are the practices that the Japanese would really hammer into themselves before moving on. And that is exactly what I did. Before learning Reiki 2, I spent 2 years practicing Reiki fundamentals every single day, all day long. I really listened to the story of Mikao Usui, and I understood that he became so skilled because he was doing it every day. He became skilled because he was disciplined in the practice of this this healing modality, that it became his way of life. And I wanted that for myself after I saw what this energy could do. So, some foundational practices. The body has 3 energy points. In Japanese, energy, the Japanese energy body has 3 points. They're called haras. Hara is traditionally translated to the place in the body where the elixir is located. It is more commonly translated to the stomach or abdomen or belly. And so energy is believed to be stored in these 3 points of the body, and it is then expanded throughout the whole body. Each hara is best known for the stomach, but there are 3 hara energy centers within the Japanese energy system. Haras are most relatable to the chakra system. However, they are not related to the chakra system, and there are only 3 haras in comparison to the 7 chakras of the Middle Eastern energy system. So in traditional Japanese teachings, and even still to this day, as an early life practice for teachings in diaphragmatic breathing, the hara system remains a core focus in building a person's energy or ki, life force. When taking a look at the hara centers, you can better understand their individual purposes. The goal when working with hara breath, a practice we are going to be going over shortly, is to link the 3 centers, which will create unity and balance in the body. This is essentially the backbone to strong Reiki connection and effective technique. So, where are the haras? Your first hara is about 1 to 2 inches below your navel. The second hara is at your heart, and your third hara is at the very top of your head. The lower hara is just known as the hara. This is where we're going to start. We are created here. We gestate here and are born into the world from this energy center. This is the source of original energy, creator energy. This is your mother womb energy. This is Earth Mother energy, our connection to Earth Ki, our mother, host, the nurturer of our life, our home, security, and nutrients, our provider. When we are connecting to Earth energy, we gain stability, strength, cleansing, confidence, focus, and balance. Earth Ki also provides clarity of one's life purpose, of our own physical health, and helps us tap into our healing abilities for not just others, but ourselves as well. The middle hara is the heart hara. The energy of this center is connected to our emotions, which is a human energy paired with this human experience. Life processes the human experience through emotions from childhood through adulthood to old age, only to return us to becoming a child through those experiences. I know that's really obscure to think about, but this is the symbolic resonance of the heart ki. It's that connection of no matter what age you are connecting to that childhood innocence, that you are connecting through love and compassion. Through this center, you connect with your heart, which expands your awareness and limitations to fully appreciate and embrace the vast blessings this life has to offer. It also helps you find acceptance for life's obstacles and suffering, and to understand their transformational lessons. Your heart hara gives the deepest capacity for compassion gratitude, forgiveness, empathy, and love. Now, the upper hara. This center uses universal information to see beyond the immediate human experience, and it is known as the vessel of, quote, heaven key, and is the access point for celestial, divine, and eternal life force energy to enter the being. When properly utilized and balanced with the lower hara, it can awaken psychic abilities and draw in healing from the heavens. This center becomes a gateway or portal for enlightenment and an awakened consciousness. However, this hara will only function optimally when your lower hara is strong and healthy. Otherwise, this universal information and high vibrational stimulus can cause side effects, such as insomnia, anxiety, and jitters, and mind chatter, and even delusions in extreme cases. It will also cause a lot of emotional imbalance. So before concerning yourself with connecting the three centers, it is imperative to develop the first hara. Now, your energetic system acts as a pyramid does. Without a strong foundation, you become too top-heavy, unstable, and ineffective, toppling over. And something many practitioners of Western spiritual practices do is overemphasize strengthening their third eye or crown chakra, right? That would be considered your third hara. That's your upper hara. Even with Western systems, building your root systems builds a strong foundation and grounding, which is necessary for the intuitive work to be beneficial. There's always an overstimulated third eye chakra when you're talking about being awakened and enlightened. A lot of those people end up with imbalances that can be misinterpreted as spiritual experiences. When we connect with the lower haras, we connect to original energy, and that ensures good health in the physical body and recovery from illness. A firm, collected stance is an indication that a practitioner has a strong lower hara, much like the stance of a sumo wrestler. So when we think of a sumo wrestler, we're thinking the shoulders are low and hanging loose, the legs are slightly apart with the body weight distributed evenly. Sumo wrestler is someone who has a body that is large and heavy, yet somehow they are able to be quick and nimble at any moment. It is not their physical strength that wins them fights, but their ability to adapt and hold their ground. Their lower hara is the main building block to their success, and it is from this point that they develop their strength, like a pyramid. An inner attitude of calm stems from this hara, knowing that there is a reliable source of strength available when needed. It gives us the ability to cope with everyday tasks and even sudden emergencies with focus, calm, and ease of understanding. And this is why the lower hara needs to be strong and stable. And this is why I spent a year developing my lower hara before I ever moved up to my heart or upper hara. So the very first thing you need to learn when doing Reiki is there is a practice, a traditional Japanese practice called Gasho that I recommend that you do. Gasho is translated to place the palms together. It has several interpretations at different levels and cultures, but in traditional Japanese culture, Gasho is a sign of reverence. It is used to say, I revere the Buddha nature in you, a non-judgmental manner for showing respect for all things. It can closely be related to the saying of Namaste, which is a Hindu way of saying, I bow to the divine in you. Both practices use Gassho and is a reverence of the best nature within us all. Japanese practitioners use Gassho as a way of bringing all opposites together. It creates unity within the body and mind by bringing the left and right hand together, our yin and yang, where all opposites become one. It is possible to recognize how focused an individual is by their Gassho, they say. A firm Gassho indicates a quiet and focused mind. However, a loose and sloppy Gassho indicates one who has poor concentration. Japanese believe that this action integrates the body and mind. There are many varieties of Gassho. No matter which variety to perform, the eyes must be kept at the tips of the middle fingers. So, I use Gassho. Every time I do Reiki, I use Gassho. Reason being is, when I am doing Gassho, I am not just revering the divine nature of Reiki. I am revering the divine nature of myself and of my clients. And I see this as a way to greet and to thank and to have that gratitude for the ability to be a vessel for this energy. That's the reason I use Gassho. Once again, it's totally up to you if you want to Gassho. I do because it helps me tune into that energy within myself more. I have appreciation for myself. I have appreciation for this energy. I have appreciation that I am this vessel. And I have appreciation for my client, for their openness and willingness to receive this. So I'm going to end today with giving you your first attunement. Okay? And what I want from you is I want you to Gassho, that is just placing your hands in prayer position. And you can close your eyes. Even if you just start with a Gassho, you say thank you, and then you can relax after in order to receive. That is totally fine. I just recommend that you take a moment of gratitude before doing Reiki, because it will create this pattern for you of reverence. It will create this pattern for you of connection. It's just something to try if it's something that resonates with you. So when I'm going to attune you, please do Gassho at the beginning and Gassho at the end, just for my sake. Try to do that if you can. And next week, we will be going over some practices that you can begin to use in order to help you tune yourself to these Reiki energies so that you can start to use them on yourself. Okay? So please go ahead, take a couple of deep breaths. If you know how to ground yourself, it is really, really good to ground yourself beforehand. If you don't know how to ground yourself, I'm going to go ahead and guide you through a very quick grounding practice. I recommend you do this before you ever do Reiki on yourself, because being grounded, once again, is that foundation to that pyramid of energy. You want your strong ground before you start to channel any kind of energy through your body, because just like a lightning rod, you don't want to fry your own circuit, right? We want to make sure that you are grounded, that energy comes in through your body and is able to go out somewhere else. So with your grounding, just take a moment, settle into your skin, settle into your body. Pause whatever you're doing. Feel your skin. What's the temperature? Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Relax your shoulders back. Relax your hips. Feel them sink into your chair, or feel your feet and legs become heavier and denser as you sink down into the gravity of your own balance. Feel your feet against the floor, and if your feet aren't against the floor, what is? Are you sitting in a chair? Are you laying in a bed? Are you in an airplane? Where are you? Find a place of contact between you and something else. What's that bed feel like on your back? Where are you holding tension? Are you crossing your legs? Uncross them. Rest your soles on the floor. Feel your soles pressing down into the floor as the ground holds steady against that pressure, almost elevating you in that state of stasis. Feel the support from the earth beneath you. Breathe down. Let all your tension trickle down your back. And relax each and every muscle as it eases its way down your spine, down into your hips, down into your Okay. Take a moment. Place your hands together in Gasho. Thank Reiki. Thank your body. If you want to thank me, you can thank me. I thank myself. I thank the energy. And I thank you all for being receptive, open. So, the way that you can practice this energy this week is sitting in Gasho and just creating that energy for yourself. How do you do that, Rainbow? How do you do that? Well, as I said, Westerners see Reiki as something that has to come within them, whereas the Japanese see Reiki as something that already lives within them. I have attuned you. You subconsciously know now how to use Reiki, or at least to get the flow going. This is a flow thing. There are some visualizations. So before you go, I'm going to go ahead and lead you through one of the most common, and it is the Hara breathing. Okay? This is a practice that I use the most out of all the practices and all the levels of Reiki. I use this every single day. It's Joshin Koikyo Ho, Hara breathing. So go ahead, find a comfortable position for meditation. You can sit on a chair with your feet flat on the floor or in the lotus position cross-legged, as long as it is comfortable for you. Your goal is to be upright and relaxed, but not to fall asleep, and comfortable enough to not become distracted. So put your hands in Gasho prayer position. Silently set your intention to be open to the flow within yourself, open to the flow of Reiki, receiving whatever you need most in this moment. Some Western practitioners might imagine Reiki being a switch flipped on, or they might say Reiki go or Reiki on. The most important part is that with your intention, you're letting Reiki flow through you in a natural and easy way without resistance. So that pretty much means do not, quote unquote, try to make it go. Don't push the energy. Open yourself up like a lotus flower. Don't try and push, right? Place your hands in your lap, palms up. Take a slow, deep breath. Feeling the air expanding in your lungs. Feeling the breath all the way down in your abdomen. Relax and breathe. Focus on a point just below your belly button. This is your lower hara. As you breathe in, imagine filling this lower hara. See it expanding. And as you breathe out, imagine a light spilling through the rest of your body, down your arms to your fingers, through your legs and your toes, expanding through your skin, oozing through your pores and radiating out into your room. You can see it as smoke. You can see it as light. You can just imagine it as this energy. Continue to breathe this light into your room and out into the universe. With each slow, deep breath in, fill your hara with your inner healing light. And with each slow, deep breath out, breathe through your body, through your skin, and out into the universe. Breathe into your hara. Slowly breathe out that light through your skin out into your room. If you begin to feel dizzy or lightheaded, you are breathing too deep or too fast. Stop and let your breathing return to normal, and breathe normally with the same visualization. And as you keep breathing in the light all the way down to your hara, breathing it out into your room, you may start to feel a sensation in your body. This is energy flowing. It may start to feel like your cells are expanding. Maybe it feels like a lightening of tension. Some experience it as a rhythmic ocean tide sweeping through them, in and out. Some experience it as tingling, almost as if their limbs are falling asleep. Let it feel whatever way it wants to feel. Let it go where it needs to go. Don't push it. Don't try and interfere or direct it. Reiki will flow where balance is needed. And if you have a particular area that you want to put attention on, just place your palms on that area and continue the hara breathing, just as you would and everywhere else. Next week we'll be talking more about hand positions, but for now, use your intuition. Sit with this energy. Let it teach you. This is the teaching of Usui Sensei. Sitting with this new sensation, letting it guide him, letting it guide you. Become an observer of your own body. Recognize the sensations. Recognize where you hold tension. If pain comes up, breathe Reiki into that spot. Does it ease? Does it shift? Does it move? Just observe. Try and do this practice as much as you can. Minimally 20 minutes a day. When you're done, place your hands back in Gassho. Give thanks to Reiki. Give thanks to yourself. And once again, if you feel inclined to do so, to me, your Reiki master teacher. Okay? So that was hara breathing. That is establishing that stability in your lower hara, creating grounding, creating a strong energy flow into that energy center that is all about physical health, physical balance. Just getting that flow started moving through your system is really going to make a huge difference. Now, next week we will be covering more practices, and we'll be talking more about how to use Reiki with crystals, how to use Reiki in your everyday life and in situations. We're going to talk about the Gokai, which is the precepts, the principles of Reiki. We're going to talk about the different energy systems, and even though that they are not Reiki related, how you can integrate those energy systems utilizing Reiki, and you can start to use Reiki in some skills you already know. That is what we're going to be covering next week. I'm so excited, so excited to be able to share this with you. I really hope that you enjoyed today's session, today's teaching, today's podcast episode. It is my great pleasure to be able to offer this, not just, online, but to everybody who is ready to receive this teaching. They can find me here. And I just encourage you guys, if you're feeling any kind of resistance to this, you can sit with that resistance and figure out why, or you can just pass over this series for the month. If you're not ready to learn Reiki, you're not ready to learn Reiki, and that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's not for everyone. But if you are feeling that resistance and it's just because of a limiting belief about, is this legitimate? Is energy real? Please go check those links that I gave you in the description below to make that determination on your own, okay? Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I hope you guys put aside at least 30 minutes a day into doing that hara breathing, getting your Reiki energy moving through your bodies so that you are ready to learn more on how to integrate Reiki into your day-to-day life. Thank you again, and I cannot wait to keep ascending together. Have a good day, guys. Bye. Are you ready to ascend to the next level? This is Rainbow Raja, your spirit guide calling. Please be sure to keep all arms and legs inside your vessel at all times. I'm just here to remind you to take some time today. Support Rainbow's Rising podcast. Go. Join the Discord community. Check out the Patreon. Get some stickers, custom tarot cards. Check out the merch. The merch. You know you want to. Go connect with Rainbow Raja. Maybe even get a session. Who knows? Your support helps make this show possible. And she loves to support you. Help support her too. Once again, this is Rainbow Raja, your spirit guide, guiding you to your ascension.